right, so what do you do once you realize you have an enemy? Once you realize there is a person or people with whom you don't agree, you don't like, you don't want to be around, there are a number of things that we need to do as believers. And I want to start with the first step. And this one seems really simple, and it is simple, but a lot of us sort of bypass it. We try to just get along with the person, or we try to move on when little infractions happen, and we assume that we're going to be able to be controlled and fine and not upset. And then we sort of explode because we haven't really admitted the problem. And so that's the first step. Admit the problem. Admit that this is a person to yourself, by the way. I'm not saying go and tell the person that you're my enemy, but in your mind, in your heart, recognize this is a person I've had some issues with. It's a person I'm not enjoying. And sometimes it's really clear when you have an enemy, right? They're being openly hostile and nasty. And other times it's not as clear. It's a person maybe you're struggling to get along with. So we want to be open and honest with ourselves so that we can prepare ourselves to deal with that person, right? If we know they're going to be around us, we know this is a person I struggle with. I'm being honest with myself, and I know I have to take the right steps forward. So what are those right steps? Well, the second step, what you need to do when you realize you've got an enemy, is to be kind. And not just be kind, but to be a biblical, Bible-loving, God-fearing Christian. That means being kind to an enemy, caring, feeding, clothing a person who maybe isn't being kind to you. That is a real struggle for a lot of us, to see that God created this person in his image. He loves this person just as much as he loves you. And we've got to challenge ourselves to treat people with kindness. We want to hit right back. Culture tells us hit back, be nasty, fight back, defend yourself at all costs. And the better, bolder, more Christian approach is to actually treat somebody not treating you well with kindness. So we, one, want to admit the problem. Two, we want to be Christians. We want to live our faith out in a Christian way. And, three is not just doing those things, but going above and beyond for those people. And one of the best things that we can do for people with whom we disagree, people who we think are enemies, is to pray for them. I can't tell you how many times in my own life I have avoided praying for somebody who has hurt me. Even sometimes, if we're being honest, we might hope that bad things happen to them, which is not Christian, or we might relish when those negative things do happen. We might say, oh, look, they got what was coming to them. But we should hope for the best for those people. If you're a believer and you're dealing with somebody who's an enemy who's not a believer, you should actually want those people to find the Lord. You should want them to find peace and love and God's kindness over their lives. And so we should be praying. The harder those people persecute or mistreat you, or the more difficult those people are, the more we should be praying for them. And that, for me, is such a convicting piece of the puzzle. Am I praying? I'd recommend you get out a prayer board and you write people's names down. Start with the enemies. Have your friends and loved ones on there and everyone else you care about, but start with those difficult people. And look, I don't even love the word enemy, but when we're talking about enemies, we're talking about, again, anybody who has presented any sort of difficulty for you or with whom you struggle to get along. So that's what we got to do. We got to follow those steps, admit you have a problem, love those people, and pray for them. That is a recipe for success, because it doesn't only have to do with those other people. It has to do with the state of your heart. Is your heart where God wants it to be when it comes to other people whom he also loves? That's it. Simple recipe.